Happy Tuesday afternoon. Friday I was out of the office, so took the chance to get away and spend some time with the family and catch up on some stuff around the house. And so we're doing the weekly shout out a little bit late this time around. And hopefully everyone had a great weekend honoring one of the greatest American heroes, Martin Luther King. Always a special day for this country in which our city and society recognize the civil rights of everyone here in this country, and certainly it was a special day for me in particular. I want to touch a little bit on what's going on with where we are with GFOA. I talked a little bit about it this morning at the Finance and IT Department meeting, and certainly appreciate Daryl and Michael giving their time and everyone engaging in the exercise with Dale. As I mentioned, the GFOA recommendations were kind of polished up late Thursday. The transition team's going to look at them on Thursday afternoon. Hope to get them out this week to the team. And then Greg Herman is working with GFOA to schedule all the meetings with staff and everyone else so that we all have an opportunity to go through all of those recommendations in careful detail. As we promised and as we indicated early on, we don't want the final report to come out as a surprise. Certainly, I think there's going to be some real rich discussion about some of the recommendations that they have in terms of the organization and the shift, and how do we provide our services in the long term, and how do we transition from where we are today to the systems and the structure that we want to have in the future. This is really going to be, as I said this morning, a long-term journey, a long-term exercise, and we really need to build upon all the strengths we have as individuals and as the team and develop a new financial system and putting in place the staffing and the training to make sure that we can deliver the top-notch services that everyone in the department wants to provide. Before I talk a little bit about the details related to the weekly shout out, I want to talk a little bit about just and remind everyone about the emergency operations and the NIMS training. That's your requirement as an essential service worker. I'm going to ask Lorraine, who's going to be filling in for Michelle in some areas, to follow up and see where we're at. Today's downpour and deluge, which was unexpected, is just another reminder that El Nino is still here and that we need to be prepared both at home and at the office. I'll just share with you, I watch the weather reports almost every night, and last night as I went to bed, I think the forecast from the National Weather Service and NOAA was for a quarter inch. In the middle of the night, they switched the forecast as the storm had tapped into the subtropical moisture associated with El Nino, and it looks like we're going to get north of about an inch today. And you could see some areas of the gutters just around the city were, feeling the strain of, a lot of rainfall in a short period of time. And I think that's what we can expect here in the future. So we need to be prepared for, should we be called. I've asked Lynn and Vilma and Tracy to take a leadership role in helping the department and the city get ready for our role as the financial section. We have a huge role to play in terms of record keeping, procurement, time cards, and cost controls. And the whole city organization is going to look to us to make sure that we are putting in place the purchasing policies. Tracy and Vilma and Lynn went to a training with County EOC and learned firsthand, I think, about what's the current environment and thinking what are the requirements. They're actually going to be teaming up with Bob Greenwald, and looks like Brigitte Elke as well, as she recently went to some training, so that we've got at least them, and then we want to train the fiscal officers and analysts in the departments about what is required in terms of record keeping, because really this is a shared responsibility, and one where finance is going to be playing a controller role and kind of making sure that all of the appropriate forms and reports are being filled out in a timely manner. I also want to talk just a little bit about the recruitment and retention issue. in terms of what some observations that I had last week. I had the opportunity to serve on the principal analyst panel, and as I announced last week in my role as assistant city manager, I was proud to appoint Greg Herman to serve as the city's new principal analyst. Really excited to see Greg kind of rise through the ranks. He's done a great job managing some really tough projects, and we were fortunate to have a pretty good pool of applicants. But as I think about the pool of applicants and listening to some of the challenges they have, it just reminds me about how important the staff that we have here today and how important it is to retain the quality people. And so you're going to continue to see more discussion and more opportunities in the future for training on the soft skills that's going to prepare you as individuals for career opportunities and advancement. We are having conversations right now with Monica as we think about our second phase of our partnership with the Center for Organizational Effectiveness. And so if you have feedback or ideas about what we can do to make the next round of training even more relevant to the work that you're doing, by all means, we want to hear from you, because this is really our way to invest in you, invest in your future, and in turn invest in the city family and the city organization. So I want to hear from you as you think about what we should be doing to make sure we're keeping the best and brightest here at the city. A little bit about some shout outs. I do want to thank Mary Andrews over in GIS. She rapidly responded to the bomb threat incident that we had the week prior with the city bus system. Mary worked hand in hand with in kind of a on demand and really kind of required her to work with the public safety staff to look at locations and officers that were paired up with certain buses as we thought about evacuations, and we thought about who were clearing buses and assigning resources to those locations. So big thanks to Mary for her work. Jason Dornish did a great job repairing a long broken slack tank McCollum Pump Station telemetry for water distribution. Nick identified and helped repair the emergency generator at the city's primary radio station at South Hills. Super important, as one of the things we're going to be probably experienced with storm events this year is power outages. Paul was upgrading all the conference room PCs and with the council hearing room. And then Dawn did an outstanding job taking some pretty complicated tax information and putting it in a map format along with really helpful graphs. On the finance side of the world, we're seeing some great progress in terms of payroll. Lori is near completion with Lynn, getting a lot of the 1099s and the W-2s and everything out to all of our employers and our contractors. We are catching up with fixed assets, and looks like we're nearly caught up with reconciliation. Marjorie reported to me our outstanding progress on business license compliance, and we've made some significant progress there. And then I just had Ben Marcotte stop by the office from Utilities and gave huge kudos and shout out to Marjorie for the work on getting compliance for people paying their commercial discharge fees, and something that was difficult to kind of unravel, and fortunately they were able to work together as a team and sort through that. Elsewise, in the department, I do want to thank Vilma. She's now got the CAFR all filed. We've filed the single audit report with the federal government. And Zena is just before coming on air for this week's edition, shared with me the update on the mid-year report, which has been a big team effort by Michelle and Zena and Vilma to prepare that report. And this is one area that I wanted to really talk about today, which is the incredible teamwork that's occurred between Zena and Michelle and Vilma. And I was really heartened to see last week when I couldn't make the management meeting that people really stepped forward in light of the impending vacancy with Michelle, and various different staff is going to be taking on the ongoing responsibilities until we fill that position. Michelle is going to be sorely missed. She has been an incredible asset to this organization, has been very committed to not only the job that we do, but committed to the rest of the team. That's really clear in the amount of dedication and time that she's put in to get the job done and go the extra mile when she's needed. An update on the recruitment process for filling that position is that we had an EOP, we had 2 internal candidates, and after looking at resumes and thinking about it and getting feedback from folks, I've decided to add the internal applicants to the pool of applicants that we get through an external recruitment process. So you'll be hearing from me about people who we want to have serve on the interview panel, and so expect to hear from me sometime in the future about your ideas, and both in terms of questions and then people who we should have on the panel to interview to make sure we get the right special person to fill Michelle's shoes. Last but not least, I want to just talk a little bit about our off-site retreat next month with Dale. I think that this is going to be an incredible opportunity for the team and for finance and IT staff in particular to think about what is it the organization that we want to have in the future, and to be able to think about and navigate a way forward in light of the GFOA recommendations. So we've carved out 2 half-day sessions. You're going to get an appointment sometime here in the future from Greg. I know you're all busy, but this is the type of stuff that's really an investment in the future, an investment in how we do business, and ultimately will pay dividends in the long run. I know in the short term it can be disruptive to carve out 4 hours out of a busy week, and then find your way to talk about stuff that doesn't have an immediate benefit. But believe me, that the type of input and your involvement and meaningful engagement is what we need to make this organization move forward. With that, I'll wrap up this week's weekly shout out and update. Going to be a long council meeting tonight. We've got a appeal on a land use issue, and then we've got a pretty long consent agenda, and then on the 2nd we've got Vilma will be presenting the CAFR, and then on the 16th the finance and IT team will be presenting the mid-year report. I'll give a report about what happens in full on Friday when I do catch up with this week's weekly shout out, and I'll give you a more fuller assessment of what's ahead in terms of the council agenda and some areas that I think we should be thinking about organizationally. Thanks for all the good work, and stay dry. Bye-bye.